Hey football fans, in this video we're going to get a look at one of the key features of the offense that Nick Rolovich will be bringing to Washington State. And if you like this kind of content, then you can get a lot more by checking out my new Livecast Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific, where I'll be reviewing the entire game between Rolovich's Hawaii team and the Arizona Wildcats. When you think about Nick Rolovich, the first words that come to mind are probably run and shoot. That's the offense that he ran as a young quarterback under June Jones, and it's the offense that he revived at Hawaii in 2018 after a few years of running a Nevada-style pistol. This isn't just a retread of Jones's old Hawaii offenses, though. This offense has been adapted and revamped to fit into the college football landscape of 2020, and in this video we'll see exactly what that looks like. The defining feature of the run-and-shoot offense is that it's built around option or read routes. On any given play, there will be at least one receiver whose route isn't fixed or predetermined by the play call. Instead, there will be a few different ways that his route can develop, and he'll choose the correct one based on what the defense does. We can start to see how this works on this play right here. In this pre-snap look, we see that Hawaii is in a trips left formation, and on this play, the outsidemost receiver, whom we'll call the number 1 receiver, is going to run a square in. If we look a little farther to the inside, we see that the inside-most receiver, or the number 3 receiver, is running that same route. And this is kind of the skeleton of the play that we're studying here, and that's the thing that'll be the common element of all the plays that we watch in this video. The read route here, or the route that's going to change from play to play based on what the defense does, is coming from the number 2 receiver. Now on this play, that number 2 receiver is going to run vertical, and in this case he's running a slot fade, attacking straight downfield and fading outside toward the sidelines for a big completion. So that's the basic skeleton of this play. We look right here, we see that the number 1 and number 3 receivers are running square ins, and the number 2 receiver is attacking vertical. Now, before we move on to look at another play, let's take a look at what the defense is doing here. On this play, Arizona's in cover 1, or man-free coverage, and that means that they have one deep safety that we can't see in the deep middle of the field, and then they're playing man coverage underneath, pressing the number 1 and number 3 receivers, and playing off of the number 2 receiver. Now remember, this is cover 1, and so I've said that there's one deep safety playing in the middle of the field. Well, when the number 2 receiver runs his slot fade outside and toward the sidelines, that takes him away from that safety, and if we pause the play right here, we can see that there's no way that that defender will be able to make a play on the ball, and this isolates the wide receiver on his man defender in a lot of space. So this is a really good route for combating this particular coverage. With all of that in mind, let's take a look at another play. As we roll it forward here, we're going to see the same basic skeleton that we saw in the play before. So if we pause it right here, we see that the number 1 and number 3 receivers are breaking short and inside, while the number 2 receiver presses vertical. As the play continues, though, we see that the number 2 receiver is doing something a little bit different from the last play. Here he's not running a slot fade outside and toward the sidelines. Instead, he's breaking inside into the middle of the field, where he again finds himself open for a big completion. So why is he doing this? Well, let's go back and look at what Arizona is doing on this play. As we run this forward, we're going to want to keep an eye on this safety, who looks like he's rolled down in off-man coverage just like he was on the last play. As we move this forward, though, notice that he's bailing deep and outside into a cover 2 shell, where he's going to play the deep half at the top of the screen, while the off-screen safety plays the deep half at the bottom. As we can see here, his drop is taking him outside and vertical, and so a slot fade wouldn't be a good concept against this coverage, but in this run-and-shoot offense, that's not going to matter. On this play, that number 2 receiver's route isn't fixed. He's reading that safety, and he's deciding what to do based on his drop. When he sees that safety bailing deep and outside, that's going to tell him to bend his route back inside, away from that safety and toward the middle of the field, in between the 2 cover 2 safeties. And remember, in cover 2, the safety at the bottom of the screen is also playing a deep half, and so he won't be in the middle of the field to make a play on this ball. As I said in the intro, though, Rolovich's offense isn't just a retread of the run-and-shoot from 20 years ago. He's brought these read routes into the modern era, and one of the ways that he's done this is by folding them into a modern-style RPO attack, which we can see on this play. So on this play, Hawaii's in trips again, although this time the trips receivers are down here at the bottom of the screen instead of up at the top. It's the same basic formation. Notice here that just after the snap, we're going to see the number 3 receiver here running his square in, and we'll be able to see a little bit later that the number 1 receiver's helmet comes into frame. He's also running that short inside breaking route, showing that same skeleton that we've seen on the 2 previous plays. If we run this back just a little bit more, we can see that again the number 2 receiver is running vertical. He's got a defender playing inside of him, and I can also tell you that there's just one safety in the deep middle of the field on this play, so he's going to attack vertical and outside toward the sideline, staying away from that safety to run his slot fade. So this is the same passing play that we've seen on each of the last 2 plays. The difference, though, is that on this play, the quarterback's handing off for a run, and if we look back at the pre-snap look, we can probably understand why he does this. When we look at the way that Arizona's lining up in the front, we can see that they have two defenders to the left of center with a middle linebacker playing directly over the center. I think that the quarterback's expecting the left tackle and left guard to kick out their defenders as they do right here, and then he's expecting the center to release up to the middle linebacker and seal him off to the inside, opening up a lane right there for the running back to take. Now, on this play, Arizona's slanting toward that lane, and so the play doesn't develop as the quarterback might have expected to, but when we look back at the pre-snap and we see these two defenders with the middle linebacker directly over the center, we can kind of understand what the quarterback's reading here. The really interesting thing, though, is that the RPO in general was only just starting to take off the last time Rolovich ran the run and shoot. And when you combine the multiple options of the read route itself with the quarterback option to either throw the ball or hand off for a run, then you get a lot of different ways that this play can develop, and therefore a lot of different defensive looks that it can be used to attack. And to my mind, that's the most defining and interesting feature of Rolovich's offense, and I look forward to seeing what he can do with it at Washington State. Alright, that's it for this video. If you like this kind of stuff, then be sure to check out my livecast Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific, where I'll go through the whole Hawaii-Arizona game in detail. You can find it on YouTube by searching for Burke18, or you can find the link on my Twitter at Burke18CFB. I'll see you all there.